What's up, YouTube? It's your boy JB, and I am here today with a review for Power Book 2. This is Season 1, Episode number 3, which is titled, I think it's Play the Game. Yeah, that's the name of the episode, you guys. So without further ado, let's jump to this episode review, shall we? All right, you guys, so this episode, I'm not going to go in sequential order of what happened in the episode. I'm going to go based off of things that went together. So in the first part of the episode, it opens up, we see Kane and Drew. So Kane and Drew, they riding around collecting money, which we can assume is drug money. So then, they, like I said, they picking up the money from everybody, and then they get to this one dude. Dude didn't have the money. He gave him, I saw him take the money out of his pocket. My dad looked like about, $30, $40, and it was. And Kane beat the dude. So it's kind of like a good cop, bad cop situation with Kane and Drew. So then we see Tariq. So Tariq is at, school. He's texting Diana, and, he's thanking Diana for helping him with Tasha. And he's saying that, he would love to come over and thank them in person. So then, we see Diana. So Diana is on social media, and it's Kane, Drew, and Monet. They're all together. And Monet, well, not Monet, but Diana notices that the CTG, I don't know what this, I forgot what this stands for. But they were on social media and they were posting some stuff which could land them in some big ass trouble. So Kane, well, actually it was just Diana, Kane, and Drew, now that I remember. And then, Kane wanted to go bust it up immediately. And Diana was like, no, we need to talk to Ma about this. And then, Monet comes in and asks them, what the hell y'all talking about? So then, Diana shows her, and Monet did agree with, Kane that they need to break that shit up. So then Diana also did text Tariq back and told Tariq that, today is not a good day. How about tomorrow at Zeke's game? So then we see Diana and Monet. So this is the day of, Zeke's game. And Diana, we find out a little bit more about Diana, that Diana loves basketball, and Diana wants to go to college to play basketball, but Monet doesn't feel like that's good for the family. One, because the WNBA players, they don't make about 70. They're lucky to make $75,000 a year, and that doesn't help the family. And Diana wants to do her own thing. She's not really she's not like worried about the family. She's like, you got Drew and you got Kane. But I kind of see where Monet is coming from, where she says that her brothers do need her, because I think that with those three, they balance each other out. Kane is a hothead. He wants to do, he flies by the seat of his pants. Drew is more tactful. He puts more thought into things. And then Diana is just the glue that I guess would hold those two together in a sense. So I get where Monet is coming from with that situation, with those three. And then, she said, and then, also they're talking, and, she's like, some of your thinking is not off. It's kind of off because you thought that, sending, what's his name? Kane to scare Tariq would help, but it didn't scare Tariq, which nothing scares Tariq. Hell, not even a belt scares that little motherfucker, but that's neither here nor there. So then we see Zeke. So Zeke is getting into it with one of his, his teammates. And I'm looking at that team, I'm like, damn, for them to be college basketball players, they all look kind of struggly. And they don't look like what you see on, with the NCAA and all that stuff. They just don't look like those kind of college basketball players. But looks can be deceiving, so I'm not going to go too deep into that. So like I said, Zeke is in the locker room. Him and one of the teammates were getting into it. And the thing that I was thinking about with this whole situation is Zeke is on not financial, but he's on academic probation. And they want Tariq to do Zeke's work so Zeke can pass and play. Like, I hate that whole situation when it comes to, football players, basketball players. They want them to pass so that way they can play the game. But then once, their season is over with, it's as if they don't give a fuck about them anymore, because I've saw that happen more than once. Because I have two friends. One lived across the street from me when I was a kid. He played football, and then one of my good friends in my class played football during football season, they want them to have the grades up, and we would have to, and sometimes they would say, why don't you guys work with them? And I'm like, I don't want to do his work for him. Like, no shade to him, but I don't want to do this nigga work. But then once the football season's over with and we move into basketball season, they literally go by the wayside. And actually the two people that I do know, one went pro, but he hurt himself so much. He hurt himself in high school, when we were in college, and in professional in the pros, because he played for the San Francisco 49ers. And he hurt himself, and he no longer plays. He's back. I think he's back in my hometown, and I think he works in the oil field. I think that's where he works. And it's kind of sad. It's not sad that he's working in oil field. That's not sad. The thing that I find sad is he has a degree. I think he graduated college. The thing that I find sad is some of these football players, basketball players, these athletes, they put so much focus on going pro and getting the money that most professional athletes get. Not all of them, but some. They put so much focus and emphasis on that, but then when it comes to the education side, that goes by the wayside. And like most of them run through their money because they don't know about investments. They want to live this lavish lifestyle, but they don't think, hey, let me put this away for a rainy day, because you never know what could happen. I could break a bone and not able to play the sport again that I love. And then also, you don't have anything to fall back on. Like, get your education, educate yourselves about a lot of things. But I could go on and on and on. It just bothers me when you see that, especially when it comes to young black men. I really get bothered by that. Like, I get it, you want better for your kids, but we could also tell them you don't necessarily have to do sports. You don't have to do music. You don't have to be an actor. You could be a doctor. You could be a lawyer. You could be a politician. You could be so many things that still can make you buku amounts of money. But I get it. I get it. I do get it. But let's move on, you guys. I don't even know where I was. Oh, so now at the game, Zeke is not playing the game. So Monet and Diana, like I said, they were showing up to the game. Once they got there, the coach told them, like, yeah, he ain't playing because, his academic probation has not lifted yet. So then Tariq is talking to Diana about Monet. He wants to thank Monet, and Monet was like, it was nothing. He asked Diana, like, why is she so mad? She says because, she, what happened? Because somebody that they're working with, they ain't doing right by them at this point. They fucking up. So Tariq basically tells Diana, tell her what she needs to hear. And then once he leaves, Diana gets on the phone and calls Lorenzo up. And she asks him for a favor. All right, guys. So next, let's talk about Drew. So Drew, he went and met up with this guy named Lil Wop. And we'll talk about that, and I'll discuss that in just a few minutes, why he went to meet up with him. So he tells him that Monet, she sent him there to give him his props, but she also wants him to chill on that social media shit. So then the girl that's with Lil Wop, whatever the hell his name is, they're on social media as they speak, and he turns the camera to Drew, and Drew slaps the phone down, and they both get up in each other's face, and Drew has his hand on his gun, and then Kane comes in, and like I said before, Kane is a hothead. Kane stopped the situation, but Kane also pulled his gun out and started shooting. I'm like, really, Kane? That's what we doing? We just gonna start shooting for nothing. We just gonna start shooting, like, cool. It's kind of stupid. So then once Kane and Drew walk out, the cops show up, try to arrest them, but Kane and Drew take off running, and Ramirez actually notices who both of them were. So they run into this alley, and they didn't have anywhere to go. And like I said, once again, Kane is a hothead because Drew was like, you're not going to sit here and literally kill the cop. He says, you wouldn't, but I am. I'm like, Kane, that is so stupid. So you're going to kill a cop. But luckily enough, Ramirez pulls up and tells the cop, come on, let's go. You let him get away. Knowing that he didn't let them get away, he was just trying to save his life. So Zeke, he was doing the press conference. And Zeke is annoying. I got to put that out there. He's annoying to me. I don't like Zeke. But in the press conference, him and the other little white guy, they were going back and forth. He said he'll be back playing the game. I'm like, oh, are you sure about that? And the coach wasn't happy about that. So then Ramirez was talking to Monet about Kane and Drew, how they almost got arrested. And they were like, he's like, he got a call. She's like, why did you get a call? Because there was gunshots heard in the area. Now that was a question that I had. This is something I did have a question about. Kane literally just shot the gun, like he literally just fired the gunshots and they walked out. So how did y'all get a call that soon? Never mind. Let's move on. So but Ramirez is telling Monet that she needs to put her business on hold. But Monet is telling him that she can't do that. So, Monet and Ramirez are about to get hot and heavy. And she got a text from Lorenzo telling her to come and meet him the next day. So then we do see Monet and Lorenzo. So they had their conjugal visit. And, he's telling her that he doesn't like the way that she's running the business. And she says, well, if you would let me run things the way that I want to, things will be fine. She says, because with Lil Wop, you almost got caught up on camera. And then, he's telling her what he wants. So the thing that he wants is for Drew to, eventually take over the business. He wants Diana to go to school. And she was like, but Kane, he ain't sending it for Kane. And the thing with Kane is I'm wondering if he has, because it's pretty obvious, I feel, that Diana and Drew are Lorenzo's kids, but Kane is not. So I wonder if that's the issue that he has there. So then Monet, she goes home and she's going off on all of them. She's going off on Drew for what he did with Lil Wop. She's going off on Kane for shooting. She's going off on she's going off on Diana for calling Lorenzo. She asked her to get the family burner phone. She looked at the family burner phone and she didn't see his number on there. But then later in the episode, she came back to Diana and figured it out that Diana had her own burner phone, took that phone and destroyed it, and telling her she's taking back over the family. I'm like, okay, Monet. I fucks with Monet hardcore. I really do. Let's move on, you guys. Damn, that's a long time to be talking. All right, you guys, and now let's move over to Davis, Tasha, and Paula. So, we see Davis. So, Davis is once again telling Tasha, like, at this point, you've got to stop lying to us. And she says, well, I'm not lying because I didn't kill Terry Silver. I love Terry Silver. I loved him. What he was trying to get me to do was to turn against Ghost, and Ghost killed him. Now, the one thing that's another thing that really wasn't answered. Did Ghost actually kill Terry Silver? Did they ever say that or not? Because the last thing we remember from the garage was we saw Ghost up behind him, and then the next thing we knew, we just found that dead body. So anybody could have killed him, but let's go ahead out on a limb and say Ghost killed him. So then Paula asked Tasha, how did she know where to find a body? She says she knew the man that she was married to, and so she just made a guess that was where he was. Which that is a good question. How the hell did she know where his body was? But that's neither here nor there. So Davis tells Tasha that the truth, basically when it comes down to it, the truth doesn't matter. It's more so what he can sell to the jury. And she says, well, put me on the stand. And Davis is like, absolutely not. But then she starts, talking to him and pleading her case to him. He says, you know what? Let's do it. So Paul's like, are you fucking serious? And I'm like, exactly. Because she's lying. I mean, like, you can clearly see it that she's lying, but if you feel comfortable, no, that would be a dangerous move to put Tasha on the stand. So then we see Tasha in the cafeteria, and you guys remember in last week's episode, she got the Plan B pill for the character. Her name is Layla. So she got the pill, and she went up to her and put it on her tray and said, I saw you lose this. And she looking at her like, girl, how the fuck did you get this? She said, I got it from a friend. And we're friends, aren't we? And she was like, you want a friend here. Most people never come back here after their case. So then they start talking about Marshall Meredith. And, then there's a cop, a guard, who's taking, he has his phone. He takes a picture of her and, Tasha, and he takes a picture of the Layla. And then Meredith comes in and he asks her, is there anything he needs to be done? She says no, so he leaves. His name is Bishop, by the way. So then Bishop, he takes that photo that he took of Tasha and Layla, and he goes and he meets with Lorenzo. And he's telling Lorenzo that, he put the pill and the phone in Tasha's cell. She took both of them, but he noticed that she was giving it to another inmate. And then he shows her a picture. So then, once Bishop leaves, Lorenzo got a call from Monet talking about the Watson boys and how they will fuck shit up by posting stuff on the internet. So, she says that they need to cut him off, and Lorenzo says, no, we can't cut him off because Lil Wap's father saved him from a bullet. So he says, let Drew go and handle it. She says, Kane is better equipped to handle it. He says, I said, let Drew go do it. And that's why I feel that it's something, like I said once before, we can kind of tell that Drew is his son, but Kane is not, and he might feel some type of way about that. So then Monet is, telling them what's going to happen. And everybody's like, we're sending Drew? Even Drew was like, you're sending me? She was like, yep, that's what your father wants. And so once everybody disperses, before Kane leaves, she tells Kane, I want you to go in behind your brother, but don't let him know that you are following him. I'm like, again, he is a hothead, but okay. So then we see Meredith. So Meredith is escorting Tasha out of the prison, and Tasha's like, I don't have a court case. She says, yes, you do. So then we see that Tasha is going to court. Before she goes to court, Paula takes her to get her makeup done, her nice clothes on, her nice wig on, and it's a mock trial. So Tasha is on the stand, and it is Davis questioning her about this whole queen pin thing, and she was pretty convincing, I will say. You can see that some of the female jurors looked like they were on her side, especially when she's told a story about her being, I think, 8 months pregnant or 9 months pregnant with Raina and Tariq, and they got pulled over on a BQE, and James, there was a gun in the car, and he told her to put the gun on her because the cops were not going to check her, and she put the gun next to her, her babies in her maternity dress. So it looked like some of the jurors were on her side, but some of them weren't. So then the next day, they're in court, she was like, but I proved to you that I could do it the other day. He's like, well, you did it with me. And now we have to do the cross-examination. And, it's going to be Sachs that's going to be cross-examining you. And who better to help do that than Tamika? So Tamika, she is doing her cross-examination of Tasha, and she is grilling Tasha. And she's basically, at this point, using Tasha's own words against her, because Tasha's saying that she didn't call the order to kill Terry Silver. And then she made mention of Angela Valdez. And so did you call the order against her? And, she's saying that, when it came down to Tommy, she said it was a cry for help. But like I said, Tamika used that against her completely. I was like, damn. Like, because Tasha couldn't say shit. And like, that just basically proved what he's saying. You can't convince the jury that, basically what he said earlier, it's not about what's the truth, it's about what you can sell to the jury. And at this point, he can't sell to the jury that you're not a queen pin, because look at what the prosecution has. Look at what they have, and look at how they're painting you. Yes, I can paint you as this, this mother who was doing anything to protect her take care of her family and protect her kids. But their defense is going to trump, they're going to say something completely different. So, yeah, and then it came out that every juror voted that she was guilty, even the women. So before Tamika leaves, Davis offered her a position with him on this case. She said no. And then, he mentioned her working with Sachs. And she was like, oh, so you found out? He was like, yep, Paula did. She's like, the answer is still no. Now, Paula wants Davis to drop the case. Davis ain't dropping that case. I don't know why he's not dropping this case. I don't get it, but that's not for me to understand. I don't get it. Because like Paula said, the woman is clearly lying. Why do you want to defend this? I think he wants to stick it to Sachs. I feel that's what it is. But that's a gamble. Maybe he's a gambling and betting man, but I know the hell I ain't. But let's move on. Maybe we're not going to move on, huh? All right, you guys, and then let's talk about Tariq. So he's once again late to class. Oliver is grilling him about being late, and he's talking about the book that they were supposed to read. Like, damn, do they have to read a different book every day for class? Like, shit, I would drop that class in the first 2 weeks. If I found out I had to read a book every day for class, I would drop that class to get a W. Because I've done it plenty of times in the past when I was in my undergrad. Man, there were so many times where I would have a professor and they were strict as fuck, and I'd be like, well, it wouldn't be that they were strict. It would be like, I'm like, you know what? After the first test, if every year, this is how I would operate in my undergrad. If every year I would do my assignments, but the first test would indicate if I'm gonna stay in the class or not. The first exam, if I made anything over 75, I would stay in the class. Anything below 75, I'm dropping that motherfucker in a heartbeat. Because a 75 or above, I can work with that because I can build myself. Like, I can start low with my first test can be like a 75. I can do that. But my next test got to be B's and A's for me. But anything below a 70, I'll even give a 70. 70 and above, we can work with. Anything below that, my black ass is dropping that motherfucker. And I'm gonna tell you guys, like, especially the classes I would really drop were, if I didn't get a 70 or above, it would be like statistics, anything with math. Because I know if I know my first test, I have to at least get a 75 or 80. Really, for me in math, I would have to get a 75 or 80. Like statistics, economics, statistics, accounting, my economics classes, like those classes, I know that I need to at least have a C or a B. Because if not, I'm dropping that motherfucker in a heartbeat. Not sitting in it. So yeah. Now I did feel some type of way about the fact that, he was talking about Tariq's answer was remedial. I mean, that's his opinion. So how can you say someone's opinion is remedial? Just because it's not what you want to hear, it's remedial. Interesting. So then after the class was over with, Lauren was talking to Tariq, and she tells Tariq that he just needs to sit down and play by the rules. Now, I didn't like that response. So he's just supposed to sit here and listen to what this man says and be like, oh, okay, sir, whatever you say, it doesn't matter to me. I don't agree with that. So then after he leaves with Lauren, he texts Braden. He asks Braden if he still wants to make some extra money. And of course, Braden says, yes, he does. So then we see Tariq in his room, and Zeke is a complete piece of shit. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Because Zeke had a paper that was due, and he is telling Tariq last minute, because I think the paper is due in like 2 days. But Tariq says, well, damn, man, I also have a paper due for my own class. So Tariq is going to have to do double the work. Honestly, I would say fuck it at that point. Honestly. So Tariq tells him, like, you know what, man, you owe me. And he says, cool, what you want? He says, I want to talk to Monet. He's like, what do you want to talk to my auntie about? He says about dating Diana. He says, well, Monet ain't gonna let nobody date Diana. And he says, because Monet wants me to keep school and family separate. He said, oh, you mean me, basically. So then we see Tariq. So Tariq's and Braden, they're at a doctor's office, and Tariq had Braden get some of the prescriptions from her pad so that they can, go out and get some pills. So he's sending Braden on a mission to get the pills, and then we see Tariq. He also sent Epiphany to this guy Scott's room to, tie him up and keep him occupied, I guess, while they're on campus selling the pills. So then we do see Tariq counting the money later in the episode, and Tariq has unfortunately come up short with the money that he needs for Tasha. I'm gonna pause right here, you guys. All right, you guys. So Tariq, so he and Lauren, they're in Oliver's class. They're picking up their assignments. Tariq and Lauren, they open up their assignments. Lauren got an A on her paper. Tariq got an NC, so he didn't get credit for it. He asked Oliver, like, why didn't I get credit for this assignment? And Oliver's like, well, I'm not the one that graded it. It was actually Jabari that graded it. So then Tariq goes to Jabari's office and he wants to know, like, what happened? Like, why didn't I get credit for this assignment? And I understood exactly where Jabari was coming from. That paper, Tariq wrote that paper thinking that Oliver was going to grade it. So he gave the responses that he felt Oliver wanted. But in fact, it was Jabari that was grading it. He was like, well, if I knew you were grading it, I would have said what I said in class. And Jabari said, exactly. That's the problem. You're kind of conforming to what you think people want from you. He wants, the thing with Jabari is he wants Tariq to be his authentic self, which I understood that. Like, never be afraid to use your voice just because you feel other people are going to feel some type of way about it. Say what you feel and mean what you say. So I understood that 100%. So then Tariq goes back to his room, and Zeke is in the room playing a video game. And I thought that was very insensitive of Zeke. Like, this boy's over here doing your work and his work, but here your ugly ass is in the room playing this video game. I would have took that game controller. No, I wouldn't. No, I'm about to lie to myself, because ain't no way in hell I'm about to take no game controller and throw it. But I would have did something. I would have been like, hey, nigga, like, what the fuck you got going? Like, here I am doing all your work and my work. Like, I just did an assignment and I didn't even get fucking credit for it. And Zeke is like, well, that's your fault. Tariq had to break it down for his dumb ass. Like, if I fell out, you fell out, you don't go pro. So what you need to do is carry your weight around here. And he says, I also need a favor from you. The favor is the next time he goes to dinner with Monet. So then we see Jabari in his office, and there's a student in there, and she's coming on to Jabari about the book that he wrote about him and Carrie. And, she's trying to have sex with him. I'm like, that is really disgusting if you have sex with her. So Carrie comes into the office, and when she's in the office, the girl was about to go out the door, and Jabari closed the door behind her, and they just started having sex in the office, and Carrie overheard it, and she walked out. I'm just going to leave it at that. So then lastly in the episode, we see Monet. So Monet goes over to the school because, she's going to get, what's his name? Zeke. I guess they're going for dinner. But Tariq is there as well. And she thought that Tariq was gone. So, she told Zeke to go wait for her in the car. And Tariq hands her a bag of money. She's like, I don't need no money. I don't need this. I got enough. He tells her that he needs a supplier. And she tells him, like, ho, 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 whoa, ho, pump your brakes, little nigga. You might want to be careful with who you calling a criminal. So he wants to make a deal with her. And I don't know why the hell she agreed to the deal. But she agreed to it. So then we do see her later at the end of the episode. She called Lorenzo. And, he was like, how do we know we can trust Tariq? Hell, you can't trust him. But she tells him, to make everything okay. So he calls Tasha. He tells Tasha that tell Tariq to do whatever we say, or else Tariq will die. Okay, I mean, I really don't care. I don't care that much. But that was the episode, you guys. It was a good episode. I enjoyed it a lot better than last week's episode for sure. But that is going to wrap it up for this episode of Power Book 2 Ghost. Be sure to like this video, leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification button so you guys are aware of when I drop anything else. Share this video and into the next one, you guys. Stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Stay hydrated. Stay warm or cool, whichever one it is, whatever the weather conditions are in your area. It's getting a little cool here in Texas, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.